They say some cities vanish not with time, but with purpose. Buried beneath centuries of folklore and silenced explorers' journals lies a name the world dares not whisper aloud. Umbra Noctis, the lost city of shadows. Hidden deep within a rainforest untouched by civilization, this cursed ruin is said to consume all who enter, swallowing their screams, their bones, their very souls. No one who has gone in search of Umbra Noctis has returned. Not intact, anyway. But that didn't stop Dr. Marcus Elian, an obsessed archaeologist with secrets darker than the jungle canopy. With a ragtag team of mercenaries, occult researchers, and desperate thrill-seekers, Marcus led an expedition straight into the mouth of terror. What they found was not just ruins, but a living nightmare. And you're about to relive every breathless second. Welcome to Generation 1 of the Lost City of Shadows, an expedition into the unknown, a tale carved in fear, whispered in shadows, and sealed in blood. But before we dive into the madness, do you believe there are places we were never meant to find? Comment below, yes or no, and tell me why. I'll be reading the most chilling responses in the next episode. And if you love spine-tingling horror, forgotten lore, and stories that make your skin crawl, like, subscribe, and share this episode with a fellow horror lover. You won't want to miss a single heartbeat of what's coming next, because this is only the beginning. The rain hadn't stopped for 2 days. It beat against the dense canopy like war drums, the air thick with heat and decay. The jungle was alive, but not with birdsong. No, this place felt different, still. Watched. Dr. Marcus Elian stood at the front of the expedition group, machete in hand, his soaked shirt clinging to his skin. A map, faded and brittle, was rolled and strapped to his side beneath his coat. His eyes, however, were dry, sharp and unblinking. He'd waited 20 years for this. Behind him trailed the rest of the team. Lena Voss, cryptologist and linguist, an expert in dead languages and even deader civilizations. Callum Riggs, ex-military, now survivalist in security, carrying a modified shotgun and a suspicious past. Julian Morales, the young documentarian eager to capture footage for his streaming channel, unaware of the real danger ahead. And Father Amen, a Haitian priest who joined last minute, clutching a satchel of talismans and whispering prayers under his breath. "Marcus," Lena whispered, brushing thick leaves aside as they trudged deeper into the green abyss. "Are you sure about the coordinates? We've gone way past any documented satellite map." "I'm not looking for something on a map," he replied coldly. "I'm looking for what the map forgot." They moved in silence for another hour, boots sinking into mud, swatting at insects that didn't fly right, wings too slow, movement too deliberate. Strange symbols began to appear on tree trunks, burned into bark. Some glowed faintly, pulsing. The air smelled of sulfur and copper. Father Amen stopped, his hand raised. "Do you feel that?" Everyone paused. A low vibration pulsed through the ground, subtle, rhythmic, almost like breathing. Riggs cocked his gun, eyes narrowed. "That ain't thunder." The jungle path twisted left suddenly, revealing a clearing, and there, rising out of moss and shadow, was the entrance. Not grand, not golden, just a stone arch wrapped in thick black vines, carved with a language that twitched at the edge of Lena's mind. Julian pulled out his camera, whispering, "Is this it? The city?" Marcus stepped forward, fingers tracing the stone. "Not yet. This is just the threshold." As if triggered by his touch, the vines slithered back like snakes recoiling from fire. Eamon gasped and backed away, clutching his talisman tighter. "This is no door," he hissed. "This is a mouth." Riggs moved forward, flashlight aimed. "Either way, we're going in." They stepped a first through the arch, and the light behind them died. Instantly, Julian spun, flashlight sputtering. "What the hell? The sun? It's just gone." A dark fog slithered in, swallowing the jungle sounds. Inside, it was night. A moonless void pressed in on all sides. Even Riggs, calm and cold, clenched his jaw. The ground changed beneath their feet, no longer mud but smooth, cold stone. As they adjusted, ancient pillars rose like ribs from the earth, Twisted statues of faceless beings watching from every direction. Eyes gouged out. Mouths sewn shut. Whispers began. Not words, feelings. Hunger. Grief. Rage. Lena trembled. They're not statues. What do you mean? Marcus asked, voice low. These were people once. Look at the poses, the agony. Something turned them into this. Julian filmed despite shaking hands. I think we should go back. Just for now. Reassess. No, Marcus snapped. No one turns back. We're too close. A sudden clink echoed from deep within the shadows ahead. Footsteps. Not theirs. Riggs raised his gun, backing toward the group. We're not alone. From the darkness came a shape. Pale, tall, slender arms too long for its body. A mask, stitched with black threads, covered its face, but it moved with purpose. Its limbs cracked as it stepped. Julian dropped his camera. The creature paused, then screamed. A blood-curdling, high-pitched shriek that shattered something inside each of them. Lena dropped to her knees. Eamon fell back, eyes rolled in prayer. Riggs fired, but the bullets bent mid-air and fell like rain. The thing charged. Marcus didn't run. He whispered something under his breath and threw a vial from his coat. It shattered at the creature's feet, exploding in red flame. The entity recoiled, screaming again, this time in pain, before vanishing into smoke. What was that? Riggs demanded, pulling Marcus by the collar. A Shadowborn, Marcus said, chest heaving. A guardian. We've entered the outer ring. Lena stood slowly. There are more, aren't there? Thousands, Marcus said, tone grim. And they know we're here. Behind them, the arch had closed. Stone where once was air. Trapped. The team moved forward, no longer out of ambition, but survival. They entered a vast hall lined with murals, animated murals that twitched and shifted as they walked. One showed a sun being devoured. Another, a city sinking into ash. And a third, unmistakably their team. Julian's voice cracked. This was painted before we arrived. A soft scrape echoed from above. They all looked up. The ceiling was covered in bones, human and otherwise, bound together with twine and teeth. From it, something dropped. A hand. Skeletal. Clawed. It latched onto Julian's shoulder and dragged him upward in a blink. His scream echoed, then stopped. Just stopped. The silence afterward was deafening. Blood dripped. Lena sobbed quietly. Oh, God. Eamon began to chant in Creole. Faster now, talismans shaking. We need to cleanse this place. We need light. Holy ground. Anything. Marcus turned, eyes distant. There's no light here, only shadows. They pressed onward, deeper into the unknown, haunted by whispers, stalked by shapes just beyond the torch's reach. Somewhere in the distance, something breathed, loud, wet, waiting. The city had awakened, and it was hungry. Julian's blood hadn't stopped dripping. It trailed across the cracked tiles like breadcrumbs of death, leading upward to the ceiling where no one dared look again. Whatever had taken him had done so without hesitation and without mercy. Riggs held his shotgun tighter now, scanning every shadow. The halls seemed to breathe, walls flexing slightly as though the city itself was alive and shifting around them. No splitting up, Marcus ordered. We stay close, eyes open, weapons ready. Eamon spoke through gritted teeth. You lied to us, Elian. You said this was a myth, a legend. You never said anything about demons or walking corpses. Marcus didn't turn around. Because none of you would have come if I had. Lena glared at him, stepping over a puddle of crimson. And you think that justifies this? A distant scream cut through the air, inhuman and echoing through unseen corridors. Everyone froze. Then a slow dragging sound, like claws on stone. Riggs signaled with 2 fingers, and the group moved into a defensive position, backs to the wall. The hallway ahead split into 2 passages, both lined with statues now clearly watching. One of the figures wept black ichor from its eyeless sockets. I vote left, Lena whispered, voice trembling. Right feels worse. Based on what? Riggs asked, wiping sweat from his brow. She looked at him, eyes wide. The air, it's colder to the right. Too cold. They turned left. The passage narrowed, forcing them single file. The walls bled as they moved past, tiny trickles from cracks that hadn't been there before. Eamon muttered louder, pressing a talisman to each stone. Some sizzled at his touch. "What is this place?" Lena asked, her voice hollow. "What kind of civilization builds a city buried in hell?" Marcus finally stopped walking and turned toward her. "They weren't building a city. They were building a prison." "A prison?" Eamon repeated, incredulous. "For what?" Marcus knelt before an altar, cracked and blackened, with runes carved deep in its base. He placed his hand against the center. The runes pulsed once, then again, for something that didn't belong in this world. Suddenly, a trapdoor opened beneath them. The floor split in two with a loud crack, and the group was swallowed by darkness. They landed hard in an underground chamber. Dust rose in clouds, choking their lungs. Riggs rolled to his feet, weapon raised. "Everyone okay?" I think so," Lena coughed. Eamon helped her up, his face ghostly pale. "We're not alone." From the shadows, dozens of tiny red eyes opened, watching, then a flurry of movement. The creatures emerged in droves, pale, child-sized horrors with arms too long and mouths gaping open across their torsos. They skittered across walls and ceilings, whispering with tongues that slithered like worms. Riggs fired. The first blast blew one creature apart, but three more took its place. Eamon drew salt from his satchel and flung it in a wide arc. The monsters screamed and recoiled as the salt burned their skin, sizzling like acid. Marcus threw another vial, lighting the chamber in bursts of flame. The walls lit up, revealing etchings of twisted figures devouring the sky. Lena backed toward a crumbling column, trying to read the markings. "These symbols, they're warnings." "Translate!" Riggs shouted, blasting again. "Preferably now." "They talk about a god, a shadow god, the eater of voices. It was sealed in this city, fed sacrifices to keep it asleep. Guess someone forgot to keep feeding it," Riggs growled. More creatures poured from holes in the walls. One lunged at Marcus, who dodged just in time. It latched onto Eamon's leg, dragging him down. "No!" Lena screamed. Eamon's screams echoed as the thing sank its chest mouth into his thigh. Blood sprayed across the altar stones. Riggs stomped on the creature's head, crushing it with a sickening crack, then dragged him on up. The priest was pale, barely conscious. "They smell the soul," he rasped. "You can't hide your fear here. It feeds them." Marcus slashed a sigil across his own arm with a small ceremonial knife. The blood pooled quickly, and he drew a symbol on the ground. "What are you doing?" Lena cried. "Buying us time." As he finished the sigil, the blood glowed crimson. The creatures hissed and pulled back, their red eyes blinking furiously. The glow expanded, forming a protective circle. Riggs helped the others into the center. The creatures circled them, claws scraping stone, but didn't cross. Marcus collapsed to one knee. "It won't hold for long." Eamon pointed with a trembling hand. "There, a stairwell." A spiral staircase, half buried and broken, jutted out of the far wall. Riggs slung him on over his shoulder, and the group moved quickly. Behind them, the circle dimmed, and the whispers returned. Each step up the staircase brought more strange visions, flickering images at the edges of their sight. Memories that weren't theirs. A woman drowning her child in a river of black tar. A man flaying his own skin while chanting in a forgotten tongue. A tower of bones being built from still living victims. The deeper they climbed, the more reality twisted. Lena clutched her head. "I'm hearing voices inside my skull." "They want in," Marcus said grimly. "Don't let them." Finally, they emerged into a domed chamber, massive and circular, with ancient stone benches facing a raised platform. A mural covered the ceiling, depicting a monstrous form, neither human nor beast, surrounded by hundreds of worshippers, all faceless, all bleeding. "It's a temple," Lena whispered. "A place of worship." "No," Eamon said weakly. "A place of binding." At the center of the room stood a massive sarcophagus made of obsidian. Chains stretched from each corner, tethered to the floor by anchors etched with blood-red glyphs. The sarcophagus moved. It breathed. "Oh my God," Riggs muttered. "It's not dead." Lena stepped closer, ignoring Marcus's warning. The air around the sarcophagus shimmered, hot and sticky, like standing too close to a fire. As she reached out, her hand trembled, and then she saw it. A set of eyes, ancient, bottomless, wide open, staring back through the stone. The lid shifted slightly. Dust shook from the ceiling. A whisper hissed through the chamber, not from mouths, but from the walls themselves. "One has already been taken. 4 remain." Eamon collapsed. The temperature dropped instantly, and far beneath them, the same scream that had taken Julian echoed once more. Only this time, it sounded closer. Eamon lay motionless on the cold stone floor, his talismans scattered like spilled teeth. Riggs dropped to his side, checking for breath. "He's alive, barely." His voice was low, unsure. "But something's wrong. He's burning up and freezing at the same time." Marcus scanned the temple with frantic eyes, muttering ancient phrases under his breath. "The binding's breaking. That thing, whatever it is, it knows we're here. It wants out." Lena stood frozen before the obsidian sarcophagus. The chained coffin pulsed now, almost in rhythm with a heartbeat. Its heartbeat. Her hand hovered over the stone lid, compelled by a pull she couldn't explain. Something inside her wanted to open it. Something whispered that it needed her. "Lena!" Marcus barked. "Step back!" She blinked, staggering away as if pulled from a trance. I I almost... I wasn't controlling myself." From the walls, symbols began to glow with a pale green light. They crawled like vines across the stone, bleeding down toward the floor, toward them. Riggs turned as something heavy slammed against the temple doors. Boom! The noise echoed like thunder through the chamber. Boom! The second strike cracked the ancient stone, sending dust spiraling from the ceiling. "They followed us," Riggs said, standing and cocking his gun. "The little freaks. And they brought something bigger." Marcus rummaged through his bag, pulling out a bundle wrapped in leather. He unwrapped it quickly, revealing a jagged black dagger etched with rust-colored veins. "What the hell is that?" Lena asked, eyes wide. "A relic," he said grimly, "forged from the bones of the first high priest. Only this can reseal the sarcophagus, or sever the bond before the entity escapes." The door slammed again. Cracks spiderwebbed across the stone. A low growl echoed through the cracks, low and guttural, like 1,000 voices snarling in unison. Then silence, just for a moment. Riggs exhaled. "Maybe they gave up." Boom! The doors exploded inward in a rain of shattered stone. A massive creature lumbered into the room, 8 feet tall, hunched and skeletal with limbs wrapped in decayed flesh and chains. Its head was a twisted mass of antlers and broken teeth, with eyes glowing violet from deep sockets. Behind it, the smaller creatures scurried, chattering madly. The beast stepped into the temple and shrieked, a banshee's wail that rattled bones. Marcus dropped to one knee, slamming the dagger into the temple floor. "Hold them off!" Lena pulled Eamon behind a pillar while Riggs opened fire. The first blast hit the beast square in the chest, splitting flesh, but it didn't slow. It surged forward, grabbing Riggs by the arm and lifting him into the air like a rag doll. "Riggs!" Lena screamed. The creature opened its mouth, wider than it seemed possible, and began to inhale. The light dimmed. Riggs' screams were muffled, drawn toward the gaping void as his body contorted unnaturally. Just as he began to vanish, Marcus screamed, "Now!" and drove the dagger deeper. The obsidian sarcophagus screamed back. A pulse of dark energy erupted from the coffin, blasting through the chamber. The beast dropped Riggs and staggered back, howling. The smaller creatures shrieked and scattered. The sarcophagus lid slid open an inch. A whisper slipped through. "Too late." Marcus turned pale. "No, no, it's not supposed to speak. It's not supposed to move." Lena helped Riggs to his feet. His eyes were bloodshot, veins black beneath the skin. "I saw it," he whispered. "Inside the dark. I saw the city. The real city. It's not just underground. It's beneath reality." The floor began to quake. Pillars cracked. The chains binding the sarcophagus strained, groaning under immense pressure. Marcus pulled the dagger free, then sliced his palm open and smeared blood across the glyphs on the lid. "Help me chant!" "Now!" Amon stirred, coughing blood. "The seal must be spoken in its original tongue, or it won't hold." He tried to rise but collapsed again. Lena took his place, eyes wide as she scanned the glyphs and began reading in broken syllables. The air turned thick, like walking through water. Shadows poured from the walls, swirling like smoke, forming figures that watched silently. One stepped forward, a shadow man, tall, eyes hollow, mouth sewn shut with gold wire. Lena faltered. I can't breathe." Marcus grabbed her shoulder. "Finish it." The shadow man reached toward her, but Riggs stepped between them and plunged a broken pillar spike through its chest. The figure shrieked and dissolved into mist. Lena gasped, voice cracking as she finished the chant. The chains snapped taut. The lid slammed shut. Silence. Then, a sound like grinding stone. The temple shifted. Marcus dropped to the floor, soaked in sweat. "We bought ourselves time. Maybe an hour, maybe less." Riggs coughed, spitting black blood. "It's getting stronger. That wasn't the worst of it." "No," Marcus said. "That was just a sentinel." Lena approached the sarcophagus, staring at the sealed lid. "What even is that thing?" "It doesn't have a name in our language," Marcus replied. "The ancients called it Namorvel, which translates loosely to he who consumes identity." Amon stirred again, groaning. "If it escapes, the world won't know it's being devoured. It will forget itself, one soul at a time." The air grew colder again. A low hum filled the chamber, vibrating the floor beneath them. Suddenly, a new doorway opened in the temple wall, one that hadn't been there moments before. Carved in perfect symmetry, it led into blackness, and from it, a soft, rhythmic chanting. Lena looked at Marcus. "Did you do that?" He shook his head slowly. "No." The group exchanged looks, fear in every face. The chanting grew louder. Amon sat up, lips trembling. "That's not human. That's them." Riggs checked his gun. "We're not staying here. We move." Lena hesitated. "What if this new path is a trap?" Marcus stared into the black corridor, eyes narrowing. "Everything here is a trap, but the only way forward is through." They stepped into the passage. The door vanished behind them. And the chanting? It followed, growing louder. The corridor breathed. The moment Lena stepped through, it was like walking into the lungs of something ancient and alive. The walls pulsed faintly, not just with light, but with life. Veins ran across the stone, twitching with some Icarus current beneath. Amon leaned against Riggs, limping forward with every painful step. "These tunnels aren't built by men. They're grown." Marcus ran his hand along the wall. It was warm, sticky. It recoiled from his touch, like it felt him. The chanting low, guttural, repeating in a tongue none of them knew, was all around them now. Sometimes it seemed like it came from behind. Other times, ahead. They walked in silence for a while. Then the path split. 3 archways loomed before them, each carved with different sigils glowing faint red. Amon whispered weakly, "Left is fire, middle is blood, right is bone." Riggs raised a brow. "Those are our options." Marcus stepped closer to the middle arch. "It's a test. This city was designed to separate the weak, divide the mind. Each path is a trial." Lena looked at him, disbelief in her voice. "You knew this would happen." "I suspected," he admitted. "I studied the scrolls. These paths appear in all the old maps of the city. They're meant to challenge something inside us." "Inside us," Riggs growled. "Try surviving outside first." Marcus turned to the group. "We can't split up. Not after what happened to Julian. We pick one path. Together." A moment of silence. Then Lena pointed to the middle. "Blood. We've already bled. Might as well finish the ritual." The others nodded grimly. As they entered, the temperature dropped. The walls bled. Literally dark crimson fluid seeped from cracks and pores in the stone, flowing down in silent streams. The floor squelched underfoot. Somewhere deeper, a heartbeat echoed, slow, deliberate, ancient. Then the hallway closed behind them. The exit disappeared. Riggs spun around, cursing. Of course. Of course. It's begun, Marcus said quietly. Whatever this is, it's watching. They moved forward. The passage narrowed until it opened into a large, spherical chamber. In the center stood a pedestal, and upon it a bowl carved from a single human skull, filled with black liquid. Around the chamber's perimeter, a series of human shapes were embedded in the walls, mummified, frozen in agony. Each had their mouths sewn shut. Lena gagged. Amon whispered, "This is a shrine to the forgotten. Sacrifices who failed the trial." "What's the trial?" Riggs asked. As if in response, the bowl whispered. Lena stepped forward. The liquid shimmered, then projected an image in the air, a distorted, moving vision. She saw herself, kneeling over Riggs's body, sobbing, covered in blood. "God, what is this?" she breathed. Marcus stepped beside her. The image shifted, showing himself, hands bound, dragged by robed figures into the obsidian sarcophagus room. His screams were silent in the vision, but his terror was loud. "It's showing our deaths," he muttered. The bowl whispered again. Amon translated shakily. "Only one may drink. One truth. One blood. The others must watch." Lena looked at the others, panic rising. "What happens if none of us drinks?" A new vision formed, of the four of them impaled on black stakes, burning alive while shadow creatures chanted in glee. Marcus didn't wait. He grabbed the skull bowl and raised it to his lips. "Wait," Riggs shouted. "What if—" Marcus drank. The black liquid disappeared instantly. Marcus staggered back, eyes wide, gasping. His pupils dilated. He screamed, then silent. He fell to the ground, twitching, seizing, until finally he stopped moving. Everyone froze. Then Marcus stood up. But it wasn't Marcus anymore. His eyes were completely black. His mouth twisted into a smile too wide for a human face. "I see it," he said, voice distorted. "I see the real city. The one between realities." Lena stepped back. What did you see?" Marcus's head tilted sharply, like a broken doll. "The city is a mouth, and we are already between its teeth." Riggs raised his weapon. "Whatever you saw, you better snap out of it." Marcus blinked. His eyes returned to normal. He collapsed to his knees, vomiting black sludge. I'm okay, I think." "No, you're not," Amon said, inching away. "You're marked now. That drink, it brands you. But it also unlocked something," Marcus said breathlessly. "I know where we have to go next." The chamber trembled. The mummified bodies along the walls began to twitch. Their mouths tore open, threads snapping with wet cracks. They screamed, long, painful, wordless wails, and pulled themselves free from the stone. Dozens of the forgotten lurched forward, crawling toward the group. Marcus shouted, "Follow me," and bolted for a side tunnel that appeared as soon as he pointed. Lena and Riggs dragged Amon, and together they ran. Behind them the howling didn't stop. The tunnel twisted like a corkscrew, dragging them downward in an impossible spiral. The walls shimmered, displaying visions as they ran, each worse than the last. Lena saw her childhood home, but the windows wept blood. Riggs saw a battlefield where all the corpses wore his face. Amon saw nothing, just endless darkness. They burst into another chamber, this one lit by a soft blue glow. At its center floated a single item, a compass, but its needle spun wildly, not pointing north but downward. "Is that what I think it is?" Lena whispered. Marcus nodded. "The soul compass. It doesn't point north. It points to the center of the city, to the entity." The room began to shake violently. Cracks opened in the ceiling. Screams poured from them. They grabbed the compass and the walls exploded inward, revealing a horde of shadow creatures. "Run!" Riggs yelled. And they did, through another spiraling corridor, deeper into the bones of the city. They didn't know where they were going anymore. They just knew it was forward, because behind them, the city was waking up. The tunnel dropped them, like prey, into a cathedral-sized chasm. No stairs, no ramp, just a sheer cliff that gave way beneath their feet. They tumbled down a slope of cracked bone and obsidian shards, landing in a heap at the base of an impossible structure. The walls here were neither stone nor flesh. They pulsed with a pale, colorless light, giving shape to symbols that hurt to look at, twisting geometries that rearranged when not directly observed. Riggs coughed, spitting blood. "Anyone break anything?" Amen sat up, still pale and trembling. "Everything feels broken, even the air." Marcus clutched the soul compass, its needle now spinning so fast it was a blur. He muttered, "We're close, too close." The floor beneath them was made of countless skulls, each fused into the next, their empty eyes watching, and beyond the skull field stood a door. No, not a door. An arch. A gate of ribs wrapped in sinew, where shadow fire danced and whispered in forgotten tongues. And something stood on the other side. It saw them. It smiled. Then it faded. Lena drew her blade. "I don't want to see what that was." Marcus turned to Emin. "You said something about the center of the city. What's there?" Emin hesitated. "The heart. It doesn't beat. It waits. It calls those marked by the drink. Like you." Marcus's eyes flicked to the still spinning compass. "Then it wants us to come. Maybe it thinks it's already won." Riggs loaded his last clip. "Let's not prove it right." They stepped through the arch. The shift was instant. The world around them vanished like ash in wind. Now they stood in a vast field of black grass under a crimson sky. Stars moved like predators above them, circling slowly, hungrily. Mountains hung upside down in the clouds. And the air, it screamed in whispers. They couldn't unhear. The lost city of shadows had shown its true form. A place out of sync with time and space. A living scar on the world. And it was growing. They followed the compass toward a massive monolith, rising from the center of the field. It pulsed like a lighthouse, but its light was wrong. It didn't illuminate, it revealed. With every flash, shadows retreated, revealing scenes from the past. Marcus stopped. "Wait, that's..." He watched a vision of his younger self, bloodied and kneeling before a man in red robes. "That's when I first heard the name Namur Vel." Another flash. Lena saw her mother, dead for years, reading from a journal that had never existed. "This is a trap." "No," Emin said quietly. "It's memory theft. The city feeds on it, takes what we are, twists it. More lights, more visions." Riggs watched helplessly as a younger version of himself executed a screaming child with black eyes. "That never happened. I never did that." The city was lying, or worse, it was rewriting truth. The closer they got to the monolith, the harder it became to breathe. The ground shuddered beneath them, and shapes moved just at the edges of their vision. Whispers slid into their ears, naming things they'd never told anyone. Emin suddenly collapsed, convulsing. From his mouth came another voice. "You've brought him too close. He is not yours to give." Lena screamed, backing away. Emin's body levitated 3 feet off the ground, mouth still open. "Turn back. You trespass. You defile the old pacts." Marcus stood firm. "We were summoned." The seal broke. The heart called. Emin's head twisted unnaturally to face him. "Then come and be unmade." He dropped like a stone, motionless. Lena rushed to him. "He's breathing. Barely. He's burning up again." Riggs knelt, pulling out the last of their sacred oils and smearing it across Emin's forehead. "You hold on, old man." Then the sky cracked. Not thunder, not lightning. It split. A chasm tore open in the heavens, revealing an eye, enormous, unblinking, lidless. The gaze fell upon them, and the city responded. The monolith screamed. From its base the ground ruptured and creatures poured out. Not the chattering goblin things from before. These were tall, slender, human-shaped but all wrong, limbs too long, mouths where eyes should be, stitched wings trailing behind like dead skin. They ran. There was no choice. The city howled around them as the sky rained burning ash. The shadows warped, chasing them, mimicking their forms. Lena screamed, as one reached for her, its fingers turning into her own hand. Riggs turned and fired until his gun clicked empty. Then he pulled a grenade from his vest and threw it behind them. Boom! The blast was swallowed by the city like a snack, but it slowed the horde. They reached the base of the monolith. Black stairs led down, not up into the earth. Marcus looked back once. The eye in the sky blinked. Then they descended. The staircase twisted like intestines. Each step took something from them. Lena forgot her brother's name. Riggs forgot why he joined the expedition. Marcus felt the compass go silent. And Ammon, he began whispering in the ancient tongue, over and over. Valtha, Satun, Valtha, Satun. They reached a chamber deep beneath the city. A sphere floated above a pit, beating slowly. The heart. It pulsed once, and Lena screamed, falling to her knees, blood pouring from her eyes. It's inside me. Ammon stepped forward. His eyes were gone. His mouth was stitched shut with red thread. Marcus shouted, Ammon, no. But Ammon raised his hands, and the heart responded. A door appeared in the pit. A door of pure shadow, and it opened. Something came out. The creature that emerged from the door was no creature at all. At least, not in any form they understood. It was an amalgamation of everything they feared, every shadow that had ever lurked just beyond sight. A living, breathing nightmare drawn from their deepest anxieties. It had no true shape, but its outline shimmered like ink in water, dark, impossible, and vast. The air grew thick, choking them as though the very atmosphere was absorbing their fear, growing stronger with every heartbeat. Lena stumbled backward, eyes wide, her breath coming in short, panicked gasps. What is that thing? Marcus stood frozen, his hands still gripping the soul compass, which now spun wildly in his palm as though it had no more power to guide them. The creature's presence seemed to distort reality itself, bending the light and shadow until the room twisted like an endless maze. Amon, his voice now guttural, rasped, that it is the source, the thing that haunts the city, the heart of Namarvel. The entity, if it could even be called that, stretched out across the chamber, its form shifting in and out of focus. It had a presence, an unnatural pull, as though it existed both inside and outside of time. Its glowing eyes, twin voids that swallowed the light, focused on them with a chilling intensity. How do we fight it? Riggs gritted his teeth, hands shaking as he loaded another clip into his gun. But he knew, deep down, that bullets wouldn't stop this. Nothing would. Amon's voice quivered. You can't. No one can. It is not a thing you can defeat. It is a wound, a sickness, an infection spreading through everything, through us. The ground beneath them rumbled, and the heart pulsed again, sending a shockwave of energy that knocked them off their feet. The creature shifted closer. It was inside them now, not just in the room but in their minds. Its whispers clawed at the edges of their thoughts, as though it was trying to plant itself in their very consciousness. Your fear fuels me, it crooned, its voice not heard but felt, a twisting presence inside their skulls. Lena clutched her head, her knees shaking. It's in my mind. It's inside of all of us. Riggs gritted his teeth and charged, firing blindly at the shifting mass before him. His shots disappeared into the darkness, the creature's form warping and bending around each bullet as if it didn't care. He didn't stop, even when his gun clicked empty. The creature's laughter filled the air, cold, cruel, and endless. You think you can stop me with mere bullets, foolish humans. A bone-chilling laugh echoed around them. But Amon stepped forward, his voice now a dead whisper. It doesn't care about your weapons. We're in its domain now. Lena stared at him. What do you mean? Amon didn't reply immediately. He seemed to be listening to something distant. It's already been here. It's always been here. We're the invaders. Marcus moved, his voice urgent. We don't have time for philosophical debates. We need to do something, anything. Amon's gaze locked on the heart again. It's not about doing. It's about undoing. The city can't exist unless it has something to feed on. It feeds on memories, on souls. It survives by erasing us. Riggs pounded his fist against the floor, the shadows around them deepening. How do we undo something this monstrous? How do we stop that? Amon looked at Marcus. You know what has to be done. The room trembled again, the air thick with the scent of decay. And for the first time Marcus understood. The monolith, the heart, it was an anchor, a link to the city, But more than that, it was the wellspring, the dark center where all things twisted into oblivion. He stepped forward, holding the soul compass in both hands. The needle had stopped spinning, but it pulsed slowly, like a heartbeat. We destroy the heart. We sever the link. Lena stepped beside him. That's not possible. We've seen what happens when we try to fight it. It's too powerful. We don't have a choice, Marcus said, voice hard. If we leave this place, if we go back, we'll only carry the infection with us. We'll bring the city into the world. The heart pulsed again, and the room groaned. The creature laughed, its presence pressing closer. Its whispers grew louder, filling their minds, suffocating them. There is no escape. You belong to me now, all of you. The city devours. The city remembers. The city, Marcus clenched his fists, determined. Then we make sure it forgets. He reached into his pack, pulling out a small vial, filled with shimmering blue liquid. The antidote to the city's curse. It was their only hope, their only weapon. The formula had been passed down in fragments, hidden in the texts and scrolls, but it was incomplete. Now they had no choice but to use it. He uncorked the vial and poured the liquid onto the ground beneath the heart. The moment the blue liquid touched the floor, the monolith reacted. The shadows twisted, and the air crackled with energy. The heart began to scream, a sound like tearing metal, like the entire world being undone. Lena and Riggs grabbed Amon, pulling him back as the floor buckled beneath them. The creature howled in rage, its form cracking like glass, fracturing with every wave of the liquid's power. But still it didn't stop. It couldn't. It was too tied to this place, this nightmare. You cannot undo what has been done, it shrieked, its voice splitting. The city is eternal. Marcus's grip on the soul compass tightened. We'll see about that. With one final breath, the heart's form exploded. The world twisted violently around them. The shadows began to fade. The creature shrieked. And then darkness. The darkness lasted longer than it should have. For what felt like hours, there was no sound, no movement, no breath, just nothing. Lena's mind struggled to make sense of it, of what had just happened. She tried to open her eyes, but it felt like they were locked shut, as though the air itself was holding them closed. And then, all at once, there was light. It wasn't the soft glow they had come to know within the city. No, this was blinding, a sharp contrast against the oppressive blackness that had enveloped them moments ago. Lena squeezed her eyes shut, blinking rapidly, trying to adjust. She gasped. When she opened her eyes again, the world had shifted. Gone were the towering obsidian walls of the city. Gone was the twisted sky, the suffocating presence of the creature that had nearly consumed them all. They were back in the jungle. The air was thick with humidity, the distant sound of wildlife chirping in the distance. The ground beneath them was solid, not crumbling stone but soft earth. It was all so normal. Too normal. Lena blinked, looking around, trying to process what had just happened. The last thing she remembered was the explosion, the heart cracking apart in a final scream, and the endless fall into darkness. But now, they were here. The others were waking up too. Riggs groaned, rolling over and sitting up. What the hell? Amon, still shaking, looked around in disbelief. We're out. We're really out. Marcus stood, breathing heavily, staring into the distance as though waiting for something to happen. The compass, still clenched tightly in his hand, had stopped glowing. The needle had finally settled, pointing true. Lena rose to her feet, her legs trembling beneath her. But how? We destroyed the heart. The city should have collapsed. The creature, it's not gone, Marcus muttered, still staring into the distance. His eyes narrowed. It's here, in the real world now. We didn't destroy it. We just sent it back. Riggs stood, wiping the sweat from his brow. I don't care what you're saying, Marcus. I don't feel it. We're out. We're free. Amon stepped forward, his voice hoarse. It's not about feeling it. It's about what's inside. The city may have been left behind, but the mark remains. Lena looked at Amon, confused. What do you mean? Amon met her gaze, his eyes distant. We drank from the bowl. We've seen the visions. We've all been touched. The city is in our minds now, not just our bodies. It's with us, wherever we go. The ground beneath their feet began to rumble again, faintly at first, like the tremors of a distant earthquake. It was subtle, barely perceptible, but it was there. Lena's heart skipped a beat. What's happening? It's already starting, Marcus said, his voice low, almost a whisper. The infection, the reminder. The world around them seemed to blur for a split second, as though time itself was slipping through their fingers. Lena's breath caught in her throat as she looked up at the sky. The clouds above them had turned an unnatural shade of dark crimson. No, she breathed, taking a step back. It's coming. It's not over. Riggs glanced at her, shaking his head. No, no way. We're out. We're free. But then, as if on cue, the ground shook again, this time much harder. The trees around them began to sway violently, as if something immense was pushing its way up from below. The air grew thick with the scent of decay, and a cold wind swept through the jungle, carrying with it whispers, distant, haunting whispers that seemed to crawl into their minds. Amon's eyes widened in horror. We should never have left. Lena spun around, panic rising in her chest. What are you talking about? We're back in the real world. But Amon, his face pale and drained of all color, pointed at the horizon. Look. And they all turned. At first it was a blur, a shadow stretching across the distant landscape, crawling toward them like some monstrous wave. But as it drew closer, the shape became clearer. It was a structure, a vast, towering thing that rose from the earth like a rotting spire, its silhouette jagged and unnatural against the sky. It looked like a city, the city of shadow, no longer confined to the forgotten realm they had just escaped. It was stretching its limbs, growing, spreading like a cancer across the landscape. It had found its way into the world, their world, and it was hungry. Lena could feel it, a deep, unsettling pressure in her chest. The air was thick, dense with the weight of something terrible, ancient, and alive. We've brought it here, Marcus said softly, his voice barely audible over the rising wind. We didn't destroy it. We only postponed the inevitable. Riggs looked back at him, fury in his eyes. You said it was over. You said it was never over, Marcus interrupted sharply. The city doesn't die. It waits. And now it's awake. And we're not done yet. Amon dropped to his knees, shaking. As the whispers in the air grew louder, they weren't just whispers anymore. They were voices, terrifying, pleading, and mocking all at once. The dead were calling to them. The forgotten were calling to them. And worse, something else was calling. A dark figure appeared in the distance, its shape indistinct, its form flickering like a shadow caught between worlds. It moved toward them with purpose, and as it did, the ground beneath their feet cracked and split. Lena's breath caught in her throat. What is that? Marcus's eyes widened as the figure came into focus. It wasn't human. It wasn't anything they could have possibly understood. It was an embodiment of the city's dark heart, a form made of pure shadow, with eyes that glowed like embers in the night. It stopped before them, and for a long, terrible moment, they were silent. Then, it spoke. You cannot escape me. You never could. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more chilling tales.